It's been a hard day's night, and I've been well.
I was born September the 10th, 1955.
Hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel alright. You know I work all day.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, she was just 17.
It was very much like a youth thing, and they were very positive, and they were pretty irreverent. One of my strongest memories is when the White Album came out, which was like November, like I'm pretty darn certain I got it on November the 23rd of 1968, because my best friend, he was bar mitzvah on that night. And I remember we came home and we listened to the first side. You would call and ask if you had a release date for it, and then you would ask, does it have a title? And I remember, and I knew that some of the people who work at the record stores were just messing with us. One title they said for the White Album here in Lubbock was Trailer Hitch. Oh yeah, I think it may be called Trailer Hitch. And I'm thinking, you know, that's just such a somebody's West Texas idea of a joke. They met each other as teenagers. They had all that weird time when they were in Hamburg. And so by the time they were popular, you know what I mean? They actually knew each other pretty well. And they were friends, and they'd been in each other's houses. They knew each other's parents. They kind of grew up together, where I think a lot of 60s bands, they kind of put them together, and you just don't know each other. You know what I mean? You sort of meet somebody and become a band, and when you're forced into those circumstances of touring together and the fame and the process of creating stuff, it turns out that there's some conflict between maybe two of the principals in there. And so I think that was the thing, was that John and Paul had a really good partnership.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to strawberry fields. Nothing is real.
The odd thing was of course, that they were big fans of American music. So in some ways, the joke is that they kind of repackaged American music and sold us what we had invented in the first place, because they had different narrators. Like they have like a friend telling another friend, she loves you, you know, kind of giving them advice type of stuff. McCartney's song, All My Loving, which a lot of people would say is the most jazzy of the early stuff. And it's got Lennon doing that thing, you know, close your eye, and McCartney's walking the bass around. It's really cool. And it's got that, and it's got a swing to it, you know. And then suddenly it goes to the break. And what happens during the break? George Harrison starts playing Chet Atkins. Who plays Chet Atkins in the middle of a song like that? And it sounds great. He suddenly goes, donk, 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 donk. It's just totally different from the rest of the song. And then they kind of bring it back, daddle daddle donk. And then they just sort of pause, and it's like back to the song. And it's you know, you could say it's Chet Atkins, or it's like they like Carl Perkins. And so it's sort of like, oh, why don't we take this Carl Perkins, Chet Atkins thing and put it in with this other thing we're doing? And I don't think it was any intellectual thing about it. They just did it, and they said, oh, that's cool. And they kept it, you know.
To lead a better life, I need my love to be here.
History in a time span of but a half a century. Stated in these terms.
I also remember at a certain point, that bedroom where I was listening to Revolver, my parents did an addition to our house, and they changed the garage into a bedroom. And both my grandparents passed away, so I got that big bedroom, which is great. They had a bathroom with a shower in it, and I was able to put a little speaker in there. And the funny thing is that the shower, that's the thing I still remember, is that the shower was in the key of F. You know how if something will hit a certain note, it'll reverberate? And I'd be in the shower, and Hey Jude is in the key of F. And you'd be in there listening to it, something with cranked up, and when Hey Jude would come on, you'd be in the shower, and it would, it would reverberate, and it would just, hey, don't make it. You know what I mean? Interesting little phenomenon. I keep rambling on about this. The last album that got released, which wasn't the last one they recorded, was Let It Be, and it was overproduced by Phil Spector. It just didn't quite sound Beatles-ish, It really had a certain, I don't know. Plus, I think everybody knew when it came out that they announced sort of that they were breaking up at the same time, and so there was a certain, so there was a certain amount of disappointment that you couldn't anticipate, because that was the whole point, was that you would anticipate when the next Beatle album was going to come out. You never asked about the sixth Beatle, the seventh Beatle, the eighth Beatle.
Let's ask about that. One moment. Who's the fifth Beatle?
The fifth Beatle is Stu Stuckliff, who was the bass player in Germany. He was one of Lennon's best friends. He was an artist. You've heard this story, right? They were playing in Liverpool in these strip joints in a very red light district of Hamburg. And one of these college guys went down there and just couldn't believe it. He said, these guys are great. These guys they met were the ones who had that hair. They're the ones who had these really cool leather jackets. And this Astrid Kirchner was a just incredibly good photographer. And she wanted to photograph him. And that's when she and Stu Stuckliff fell in love. So at one point, he doesn't go back to Liverpool. He stays there. And so they become a quartet. And then he died of a brain hemorrhage. It's very sad. It was. In fact, that's one of the most classic photographs, is that, and Lennon has all these death things that happen all through his life. And so they fly in to Hamburg, and they become more popular, and they get off the plane, and she's there to meet him, and she says, Stu's died. And there's a picture of the two of them, and you don't know what's going on, but when she explains the photograph, you see Lennon's face is so compromised. It's been within like just a few hours that he's found, his best friend that he had, in art school, and that's what he always said. He says he's such a weird guy. His statement is I could always trust Stu. What he told me, I knew would be the truth.